Explosive artwork, a musical voyage to Algeria, and an Art Nouveau architectural gem. That's all coming up in today's show. We're starting off here in Paris at an exhibition that tackles one of the most striking elements of the current news cycle, drawing inspiration from the fires raging across the planet, from the Amazon to the Australian outback. Our World is Burning deals with environmental disasters, but also with the simmering political and social scenarios in the Middle East. This group show takes in artwork from around the world, and we went to the Palais de Tokyo gallery to check it out. Forged in flames, stained glass is one of the more beautiful byproducts of fire. Sarah Ouadou scans open-air markets and the debris of domestic renovations for fragments of glass to repurpose in her pieces. The Franco-Moroccan artist's inspired by the craftsmanship involved and the material's elemental roots.
These days, handmade glass has basically disappeared in Morocco. It's an art form. I mean, hand-blown glass is very, very rare. There's a clear link, in fact. Glass is forged by fire, and it's true that there was a time when we were able to use the elements to produce something in a very balanced way. Fire is part of that delicate balance, and when we upset that balance, we lose everything.
The environmental tipping point is a central idea in this group exhibition. Our World is Burning deals with issues like hyperactive capitalism in this film by John Akomfra. The economic shift from pearl diving to drilling for oil in the Persian Gulf, and conflicts old and new in the Middle East, often called the powder keg of the planet, as well as these imaginary topographies which invite us to reconsider the allocation of natural resources.
When artists are able to invent spaces, to invite us think about possible evolution or possible change in one or other direction, that means there is hope. You create a space where the debate is also expanded in the sphere of art, but also in other spheres, in poetry, cinema, and also even in politics sometimes.
As well as the climate crisis, social pressures and oppression. The show's name references the work of Iranian artist Shirin Neshat, whose series of portraits, Our House is on Fire, pay witness to the 2011 revolution in Egypt. For Badi Daloul, collecting images of Syria created an imaginary bridge to the country of his parents, reinterpreting them in pen and ink miniatures, framed by matchboxes, and drawing the viewer in close. His process took a different turn as civil war engulfed the country.
Ces images ont commencé à changer de nature.
The nature of the images started to change. They became scenes of war, tragic scenes sometimes, but not always. And the fact that we're being reminded in every TV news bulletin, on every poster pasted on the newspaper stand, just everywhere around us, it became something you couldn't forget. And making drawings of that was a way of getting a handle on it.
Understanding it, expressing it, and even adapting to it, the show's a cry for help, but also one of resistance, as these artists reimagine existence on our scorched planet. Next to the whitewashed buildings of old Algiers, or to be precise, to an evocative show here in Paris, which transports us to the labyrinth-like streets of the Casbah. Casbah, Mon Amour was created by the late musician Rachid Taha, and it's a love letter to the Algerian capital. Luc Shrego and Tahar Hani headed to the Cabaret Sauvage to find out more.
A voyage in sound and light to Algiers and the city's ancient old town. This is a story of life, love, and of the music synonymous with the old citadel.
Casbah dit Shabi, et vice versa. Shabi, Casbah. Le Casbah. Et le Shabi aussi, ça raconte tout.
If the Casbah is Algeria's political and cultural centerpiece, then Shabi music is its beating heart. born amid the history of its twisting streets and alleys. And it's the way audiences are transported to the middle of World Heritage at Paris's Cabaret Sauvage concert hall.
Dans les soirées Shabby, il y a l'orchestre.
At Shabby evenings, you have the orchestra and the audience, and they sit there listening for 2 hours. That's all. Nothing happens. There's no interactivity. But with Casbah, mon amour, there's this interactivity. I ask the audience these questions.
Questions about the Casbah, its residents, their lives, their pasts and their futures. All portrayed not just through Shabby, but through scenes of life through the years in film as well.
We show scenes of the Casbah, the small roads and alleys. I'm trying to create the atmosphere and bring out those aspects of the Casbah before and after.
The Casbah has certainly changed over time. As Algeria has moved through the 20th century, so too has old Algiers moved with it. Often with great loss to a site that became World Heritage in 1992.
I get a lot of inspiration over there. And when I go on holiday or for a few days rest, I always have to make a tour. Sure, they're trying to restore the buildings and everything, but it's also true that we've lost a lot that's gone to ruin.
Despite that, the Algiers Casbah continues to capture the people's hearts with its culture and history, not just within its own walls, but around the entire world.
In Rome, a blockbuster exhibition has just opened to mark 5 centuries since the disappearance of Renaissance master Raphael. More than 200 of his pieces have been brought together at the Quirinale Museum, a process that's thrown up a few challenges, and there are now fears that security measures around the coronavirus could see the show close its doors. Alexander Orcott has more.
The largest ever Raphael exhibition, marking his death 500 years ago on April the 6th, 1520. The prodigious Renaissance painter is considered part of the traditional trinity of great master artists, alongside Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci.
I think that Italy really deserves this show, particularly because, Leonardo was celebrated in Louvre in Paris, and I think that now is our turn, is our moment to celebrate Raphael.
The more than 200 artworks are collectively insured for over €4 billion. A quarter of them were donated by the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, where a row broke out last week over the show's centrepiece, Pope Leo X with 2 cardinals. The bitter dispute ended with all 4 members of the gallery's scientific committee resigning after the gallery's director overrode their view that it's too fragile to be moved.
This is a baseless scandal because it is an identity work. Here we have a pope, and which city represents him the most? Rome.
The quarrel followed 3 years of grueling work aimed at putting together a retrospective befitting the master. But after all that work, the show, due to run until June, has been thrown into jeopardy due to coronavirus fears. The government's already closed down schools nationally and prevented large crowds attending sporting events.
Next, if you're walking down one particular street in the French city of Nancy, you'd be forgiven for thinking you'd travelled back in time. The Villa Majorelle is an Art Nouveau icon, and now, after an extensive makeover, the architectural gem is ready for its close-up. Our reporters, Félicie Gaudillard and Peter O'Brien, got a peek inside.
Fresh-faced and popping with colour. After 4 years of meticulous renovation, the Villa Majorelle is open to the public. Inside, a jewel of a fireplace looks just as it did 118 years ago.
It was all dirty, but glazed sandstone is very solid, so it wasn't a problem to clean. We then restored this panelling, both the oak core and the veneer, which was filthy.
The facelift cost around €3 million.
We had painters, decorators, mural restorers, ceramics restorers, masons, stonemasons, carpenters. Not to mention the plumbing, heating and electricity.
This masterpiece of French Art Nouveau was completed in 1902 for artist Louis Majorelle.
We can't wait to see everything done up like when the Majorelles live there. It's going to be great.
I can't wait to see the renovated furniture, the paintings and the flowers.
The renovation puts the city of Nancy, northeast France, back on the map of European Art Nouveau, alongside the likes of Brussels and Budapest.
And we're wrapping up the show with the latest immersive installation from the Atelier des Lumières here in Paris. The projection mapping space is now showing their luminous interpretations of the work of Monet, Renoir and Chagall for a journey into the Mediterranean landscapes of those artists. Well, here's a preview. Otherwise, do remember you can get the latest in arts and culture on our website, and you can keep up with us on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
As Japan prepares for the 2020 Olympics and welcomes its 126th emperor and the era of beautiful harmony, we've come to Tokyo to check out its cultural scene. Join us from the world's biggest city as we meet some of its most exciting artists.
Encore, presented by Eve Jackson on France 24 and France24.com.